Hello, and welcome to Daily Work Remote Strategies. Today, we're talking about situations in which you may get triggered and what to do in those situations. And I'll be presenting the REACH model for reacting to situations in which you're triggered. Why do I care about this? What is this? And why do I care about this? You likely know me from these webinars. My name is Senia Maymin. I run Silicon Valley Change Executive Coaching. I got my PhD in organizational behavior at Stanford at the business school. And I really care about change. A lot of my own research was about what do you do when you're stuck? How do you get out of a situation in which you're stuck? So today I want to talk about the situation that may be going on even more and more with you when you are in these tight times at home and during the coronavirus, but it could be going on at any point. Today I want to talk about being triggered. What do I mean? Let me give you a few examples and see what else you have, what this brings to mind. Triggered is any time when you get an email and it sort of takes you aback and you think, wow, what information did I convey to lead to an email like this? Or you're having a conversation and somebody will say something that you just think, what is going on? So it could be in a work situation, it could be at home with your significant other or with your kids. Triggered is when you know it in your body. When we get triggered, it fires up a lot of things in our heads and in our brains and in our bodies. And so that's not the clearest thinking that we have. So today I want to give you a very simple framework because we get triggered all the time. And I'll use an example as a sample email that I've gotten recently because we get these emails from time to time. And I'll just walk through it with this REACH methodology. And then I'd be happy to see if some situations that I haven't addressed would be addressed better by your different situations with this REACH methodology. All right, so let's say we're all in this situation. You just got an email and you feel triggered by it. You just think, what misunderstanding led to this? And why am I a little bit being blamed? Or what is it people need from me that wasn't what I expected? So this is the situation that I'm talking about. And when you do that, I would just say the first thing is take a breath. You're likely by yourself. You're getting this email. You're likely working from home and you don't have even other people that you need to react to right away. So just take a breath and look at it. And then I'd say, let's go through this somewhat methodically. Where's my beautiful REACH model? Oh, here it is. Let's go through it literally methodically. So here is this REACH model. That is my own personal incredible artwork. It's going to be worth millions someday. But this is a stick figure person with this REACH framework. I'll go through them briefly and then apply it to this triggered situation. R is for rational, that's our heads. E is for emotional, two very simple ways to react to things. A is for authenticity. And we just had a session yesterday with Margarita Tarragona on our strengths. So authenticity has to do with our strengths. A lot of people, when they say authenticity, they point here. I've spent a lot of time in Japan and I've studied Japanese language. The Japanese point to here when they're saying me. So their authenticity is more around like the nose area. I don't know if that's exactly right, but authenticity is somewhere around here, your authenticity. So rational, emotional, authenticity, choices, and habits. Choices are decisions you can make with your hands. Habits, I refer to your feet. So let's go through this situation. You have just received an email, you feel triggered, and let's go through these one by one. So first of all, rationally, you can go through some quick rational questions. Is what I'm thinking true? Is what I believe that I'm interpreting from this email, is it true? Is it valuable? Is it worth putting a stake in the ground about? Some things are not. So that's quick rational questions. Emotional questions, what feeling is this bringing up in me? So you kind of went from your brain to around the heart area. Emotional, what is this? Why did I get triggered? Am I upset? Am I sad? Am I mad? There's so many words we don't even use. And you've heard me say this before, and where's my little book? Margaret and I write about this in our book, Profit from the Positive. But we say when you label your emotions, we talk about this a lot in our chapter, the Chew Effect, the third chapter. Emotions are contagious. And when we label them, even for ourselves, we diffuse them. So we've just gone through some rational questions. Is this true, what I'm believing to be a little bit uncomfortable about this email? Then we go through the emotional questions. What is it? What's literally the emotion that I'm feeling? And I'll give you one way to deal with the emotional part. Authenticity. Why does this affect me? So if you're triggered, there's something about you that is deeply affected. It hits at your authenticity somehow. Maybe it hits at one of your values like honesty or teamwork, but what is it that's being triggered? And again, the more clarity, the more we can label it, the more that we can feel a sigh of relief. Just get that off the pressure. And then choices. So we've just done rational, emotional, authenticity, choices. That I think of that as your hands. And then habits, choices. What choice do I have right now? It might be a choice about even stepping away from the email, and I've done this many times, thinking about it, sleeping on it, walking around my home thinking about it, and then making a choice. But even within that choice, what can I do? Practically, do I want to react? Do I not? And then habits. And habits, I call it feet, because when I think of habits, I think of what are we doing to go running or to exercise or to actually get our feet moving. But habits are going to be your foundation. So even with this one email and getting triggered, habits are what are your habits that does not become an issue. What is your checklist when you get an email that triggers you? My checklist is breathe, take a little bit of time. Sometimes if I need to get other people's input, because other people may have a perspective I don't. And then for me, I really need to bullet point. So that's my habits in a trigger type of situation. And I've done it enough that my checklist is in my head. But what are the habits for you that are effective? And while I'm attributing habits to walking and to feet and to sort of getting out there and moving, it really can be a checklist for certain situations. And I'll tell you, this is sort of an aside from this reach model, but just something that I've observed recently. I've sort of observed, and I wonder if you have as well, please let me know if you have. I've observed that people who are doing really well, even in situations like the coronavirus, so pretty successful, high productivity people, they have a lot of habits. They have a lot of things that they're not thinking about, that they do as a habit. So how can all of us do more of that? Like a habit for getting triggered. What is our checklist for releasing the energy of that and taking some action? So that's one example. And I'll summarize it again, and then I'd ask you for another example of being triggered and how we can go through this model with that example. So again, something happens, you're triggered, let's say an email, rationally. Is this true? Do I believe this? Is the right way of handling this by addressing it or by not? And when I'm speaking about rational, you may also be hearing some connotations of Brene Brown's idea that I really love how she phrases it, which is clarity is kindness. So if you're getting an email and there's something that's triggered in you and you need to draw some boundaries or set some constraints, that clarity for the long term in your relationship with this person, that is kindness, so that you two don't keep butting heads. Is that clear what I'm describing there? So again, we're at rational. Is this true? And do I want to butt heads about this? Do I want to set some boundaries and some clarity? Emotional, what exactly am I feeling? Authenticity, what value or what strength does this hit at in me? Choices, what choices can I have and can I take right now? And then habits, what are my habits for responding to this kind of situation? All right, give me your situation. Tell me what else is going on that is on your mind in which you get triggered. It could be an email. It could be somebody saying something in a conversation. It could be something from living at home closely with our family as we're doing these days. What's something that's triggering you? And we'll try to walk through it with this REACH framework. So I'll give you a moment to give me something that's like that for you. All right, we're getting some comments. I will be looking at them. Aha. Okay, great. So this is a very specific question, and I love this question. When triggered in person, is a sigh, and notice I just did that just before reading a question, probably because the word sigh made me just kind of sigh. When triggered a person, is a sigh, a deep breath, considered bad? To me, yes, I'm frustrated, but the breath helps me, but the sigh may trigger the other person. I will tell you what Pete Berridge, one of our coaches and the developer of this wonderful 360 program called Shift Positive 360, has said. If your intention is good, the outcome is more likely to be good. It's not 100% guaranteed, but if your intention is, how do I get grounded? How do I get centered? And then how do I approach this person? then that sigh may be interpreted very differently as, let me show you in my most dramatic flair. Ah. That's very different from, huh, like I'm here with you, I'm listening. Let's see what else you're thinking. What is a trigger? I'd love to work through another example with you if it's useful for you. I'm happy to stop at the one example. Good. Oh, I'm glad about the sign. That's helpful. Great. I'm really glad. I'm just reading your notes and comments. Great. I'm glad this reach works. I know when I do these webinars, I really don't like PowerPoint slides. So I always try to draw it. So I try to draw a little bit of, look, how will we all remember it later? So other triggered situations. What about when I trigger myself? Okay. So what could that mean when I trigger myself? Oh, okay, I get it. So when you're not doing things that are in line with what's important to you. I can so relate. I just want to say I can so relate to that. So you are seeing me at my standing desk in a way that I love to do webinars and phone calls, which is with my two paintings on either side, with my mug of water. So you see me here. But there, I have not cleaned off what's down there. And that is a self-trigger for me. It's really frustrating for me. So yes, you can go through that with the reach, something that you're doing that's not aligned with your values. Let's go through it. So let's say you have a mess in your, I'll do the most typical places, a mess in your kitchen or a mess in your office, in your den, or for those of you who are amazing, let's use the example of just the mess in your garage. Let's say the rest of your house is great. And it triggers yourself because you don't want to live this way. Great. So rational, is this true? I actually would say yes. Like, don't beat around the bush. Yes, it's true that this is a problem and I'm not liking it. And also guard that box. This is not true about the bedrooms in the house, about the living room. Those are great. The dining area is fine. Here's this, let's call it the den. The den is a mess. So be truthful, but also compact. All right, so rational. Let's hold this up for a moment. Emotional, how does it make you feel? I don't know, would you guys give me some feelings if we're using the, I've triggered myself. How does that make you feel when you have a mess in a certain place in your house? It makes me feel frustrated. It makes me feel a little bit ashamed of myself, so a little bit guilty. Excuse me, I just need to take a break to ask someone to close the door. Just all right, we're back. Oh my gosh, someone just asked a really cool question. Shouldn't applying reach become a habit? Yes, that's how I use it. And the follow-up is then each step of reach takes a few seconds to a minute. Kind of difficult for in-person, but can work for emails. It can work in person too, because it's still short. So yeah, actually, let's go speed style. You know, I had a coaching session yesterday with the leader yesterday, and it was really fun actually. At the end, he needed to talk through two things, and I said, sure, let's try it. Let's go speed style. So you have a mess in your den. The rational, is this true? Yes, it's true. It's not true for the rest of the house, but it is true here. Emotional, makes you feel frustrated, makes you feel a little bit ashamed. Authenticity, it's hitting against your value of even honesty. So it's honest to keep things the way that you want it set up. Choices, what choices do you have? You have a choice of doing a little bit each day or doing a big old thing. And habits, what are your habits for when you run into this kind of situation? Okay, so let's look at some habits when you run into this kind of situation. Either you avoid it for a while or you chip at it regularly. And if you don't like your current habit, can you switch it to be more chip at it regularly or do a big thing? So yes, thank you to your question. That was, what was that? Less than 2 minutes for all of those. So I'm gonna pull back for a moment and kind of end the formal part here. We've done the reach model. Did you see that running back? We've done, could you shut the door please? Thank you. We've done, I bet you're having this at home too. We've done the reach model, and we've done the reach model for two situations: getting triggered by something else, like an email, or even getting triggered by yourself or an inconsistency with what you want to be doing. So if I step back to the 30,000-foot level, this is about getting back to a place where things aren't as triggering. And I'll end with one visual that I love, that I was taught. One of the coaching certifications that I went through was a somatic coaching. So it has to do with your body and how it relates to coaching and the client's body and what signs there are in the body, like sighing, for example. And in this somatic coaching program, a lot of the concepts were based on Aikido. Now, I don't know Aikido, but some of the concepts were based on it. And one beautiful story from the program that has to do with getting triggered is the main Aikido master that all of these people were going to. People went to him and said, how is it, Aikido master, that you are able to remain so centered and so grounded? And he said, oh, no. It is not that I remain centered and grounded so much of the time. It's that when I am triggered, I return back faster. So my wish for you, we're all going to be triggered. We're going to be triggered throughout today, this week, this year. My wish for you is when you do get triggered, to return back to centered quicker. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you very much. This was our 20-minute work remote daily strategy seminar, and we will be back webinar, and we will be back tomorrow. Tomorrow we have Q&A with the coaches. If you have some questions in advance, you can pop them into the chat and we'll address them tomorrow, or you will see a couple of us tomorrow. Thank you for joining us. All the best to you. Have a super, super day. Please get outside. If you have a chance, please get outside, even for a little bit. All the best. Be well.